But I do need it. If you say you're going to do it, do it. He say you can count on it. Legislation came up. He voted against my bill. My bill passed. I went back to him and said, hey, I told you I needed the vote, but if you couldn't give it up, let me know. I would get somebody else. I said, why did you tell me? He said, I lied. I was in shock. How many of you that life just wore you out? That you didn't expect that? You thought you'd go to school, get good grades, get a job, and you came out here and you'd be able to get a job and live happily ever after, and you say, they lied. Yes, they did. They never told me, you know that song said, Mama told me there'll be days like this. They didn't even tell us that. Isn't that something about life is challenging? I mean, it's some stuff you get out here, you didn't read it in a book nowhere. Didn't nobody warn you that it was going to come down on you like this. That's called life. There are all kinds of challenges like that. So what's the next piece is that you accept yourself, then you accept the fear as a fact and not a force. See, when you accept yourself and you accept fear as a fact, that means that it's something that happens. It's something that you're going to experience, but it is not a force to hold you back. It doesn't have any special power other than that you give it. So you accept the fact that you are afraid, and then you move on anyhow. You move on past it, and you do whatever you've got to do. I was at a big motivational rally for a gentleman by the name of Dexter Yeager down in the Carolinas. I was standing backstage, and I had to go out. I was the last speaker on the program. It's the first time I'd been in a stadium of this size, over 10,000 people. You couldn't see the people because the lights are just blaring in your eyes, called Free Enterprise Day. I was afraid. My heart was beating fast. I was just pacing back and forth. And Dexter said, are you all right? I said, yeah. Yeah, I'm all right. So I said, wait a minute, just calm down. Calm yourself. Hold a minute. It's all right, Les. It's all right. All right. Just be as scared as you can be. See, that's why I say embrace that fear. Just try and see how scared you can really get. And start breathing deep. So the guy came back and said, are you about to die or something? I said, no, I'm fine. But after I started embracing it and trying to make myself as afraid as I can get and imagine what's the worst thing that I could go out there and do, my mind go blank and I fade on stage, that's the longer they gave me my check. But once I started laughing at myself, I started talking to myself. I said, you know you scared today? And I said, I just calmed myself down. And I went out there and I cooked. And that's what you got to do. I had another experience where I was at a major corporation, and it was one of my first major presentations I was going to do for this corporation. And I had 4 other presenters that had large firms. And one of the things that you've got to do is you've got to watch your inner conversation and discipline your thinking and your imagination, because if you don't, your mind will take you on a wild trip. So my mind said, hey, Les. I said, what? These guys are going to wipe you out. You can't compete with them. Because I heard these guys sitting over across from me, and they were talking about all that they had going for them. And so I started doubting myself, and I became afraid, and I was thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't go in there. And so I knew then, and this is what I suggest to you, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. Talking to yourself, you know, could be a good exercise. It might be the only intelligent conversation you ever get. So I got up and I went to the bathroom. I started talking to myself and said, Les Brown, let me tell you something. What do you care about these guys and their firms and all their money? You got 6 children you've got to feed. You got a mama you've got to take care of home. You ain't got nothing to lose. I went in that room and looked at those people. I said, don't you do nothing till you hear from me. And I got that contract, too. You got to do it. So when you have your lower self talking to you, telling you what you can't do, part of what you've got to do is be your own motivator. And you can't talk casually to yourself. You can't stand around and say, now, you must calm down now. No, that subconscious mind won't hear that. You've got to have a good conversation to yourself. Hey, and answer yourself too. Don't pay these people any attention. You answer yourself. Hey, what you gonna do? I'm going there and get off. All right, very good. Go in there and take care of business. You've got to talk to yourself, and you build yourself up, and you'll feel your energy level coming up, and people will feel that around you. See, now, if you go through life being afraid, people can sense that. They can pick up that fear. So that's why you've got to stand up inside yourself. I'm reminded of the little boy that was on a bus, and some bigger fellows were picking at him, you know. And so he wanted to move from by them. They were thumping him on the head. And so he stood up just to get from by them, and they would push him back down. And he would stand up again. They push him back down. And he stood up again. They pushed him down, held him down. He said, "You might hold me down, but I'm standing up inside myself." And that's what you got to do in life. See, when you are not filling your life with the things that you are capable of doing. See, we all have some stuff that we've been given. And I don't think that it's optional for us to sit on what we have. See, if you're sitting on what you have, what you've been given, and I think everybody's been given something to bring to the planet, that only you can do that. Only you can perform that. Only you can initiate that activity. And if you don't do that, if you're not filling in your life with your life work or your mission, then there are gaps in your life. And what we do when we're not living out our true identity, we begin to fill the gaps. We fill the holes with garbage, alcohol, drugs, worry, self-destructive behavior. So when you begin to look at your life, and you know that you're not doing what you can do because you have allowed yourself to be held captive by your fears. Now, when you don't have a true appreciation and acceptance for who you are, and you allow yourself to be immobilized by fear, what happens in the process is that you begin to abuse yourself. You begin to sabotage your life. You begin to sabotage your dreams. You begin to unconsciously work against yourself. You become your own worst enemy. So what do you do about that? Well, you begin to realize that your dream and your gifts have so much meaning and so much value for you till your hunger for them will begin to push you past the fear. Your hunger to have them will give you a special drive. As you work on yourself, as you begin to acknowledge your true identity, the true power that you have, the true capacity you have to bring about change, the miracle working power that you have within yourself to do the things that you want to do. When you take them on, I'm reminded of a man who, this gentleman was doing a special study of a special tribe in Africa, headhunters. And he had difficulty in developing a relationship with these tribesmen because of the fact that he had fear. He had fear they were going to take his head. I tell you, all fears aren't bad. That was a legitimate fear. That was a good fear to give you a headache. So he worked there for a long time with no effort, no progress in developing a relationship and rapport and being able to achieve a level of trust. So finally one night while he was in bed, he was thinking about it. I said, what is it that you came here to do? What is your life work as a missionary? He said, I wanted to study these tribesmen. I said, what's the worst thing that they can do to you? Kill you. And he just decided, hey, this is what I came here to do. I know that there's some risk involved, and I'm going to do it, come what may. He said, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. He went back the next day, and he started doing the work and trying to talk to and interview many of the members of this tribe. And they began to respond to him. They threw out the welcome mat to him. And years later, when people came to see what his progress was, they asked him, how were you able to do this? How did you convert the relationship from being hostile to that of being positive? And he said something I think has value for all of us. He said, when life can no longer threaten you with death, he said, what else is there? What else is there? And the majority of the fears that we have are not life or death fears. They're not those kind of fears. But through our imagination, we blow them out of proportion and we give them more power than they actually have or deserve, and we permit them to govern our lives. We permit them to determine how far we can stretch out on our dreams and discovering our stuff. And as we begin to look at ourselves and begin to, wait a minute, just getting to the point as you assess yourself and begin to prove yourself and just say, wait, hold a minute. I've been sweating this out. What's the worst thing that can happen to me on this? Will it kill me? Will I die? Why am I going through all of these changes over this? How much power does this really have? And am I the one that's feeding the power into it? See, a lot of times we allow ourselves to be fed and to be programmed into being afraid. I mean, you watch the news and read the newspaper, you'd be scared to come out the house.